So we had Christian Bale
We did
on the show last
a particularly chatty and convivial Christian Bale.
He was very good company, and I enjoyed speaking to him about his new movie Amsterdam, which is now out.
New film by David O. Russell, once famously referred to on a very short-lived television programme as David O. Russell, the famous
Irish
filmmaker, who made Three Kings, The Fighter, Silver Linings Playbook, American Hustle, a director about whom stories abound. If you have a moment, do Google David O. Russell and Lily Tomlin.
Okay.
So when Christian Bale was talking about making the film, he did say that he had to go and speak to some of his co-stars who were terrified.
On their first day.
Yeah.
J.D. Washington, Margot Robbie.
Yeah. These are major stars being scared.
They were slightly freaked out about
exactly.
it. Yeah.
So American Hustle opened with some of this actually happened. This opens with a lot of this really happened. So this is a kind of David... Interesting, because we were talking before about The Lost King, which maybe at the beginning of The Lost King they should have said some of this actually happened. So this is inspired by the business plot of 1933, which was a real life thing. It was a real life plot allegedly to destabilize and overthrow the Roosevelt government and install a dictator, which obviously, under the current, the way things are currently going, seems to be oddly topical. Christian Bale, Margot Robbie and John David Washington, JD, as you called him, play Bert, Valerie and Harold, respectively, a doctor, a nurse and a lawyer, who are trying to get Robert De Niro's General Gil Dillenbeck to speak at their Veterans Ball. They met many years ago. He needs reassurance that they are who they say they are. Here's a clip.
How can I know this is you really in the picture?
Yes, sir. So, I'm the doctor. She's the nurse. He's the attorney. We all met in Belgium, which, if you recall, is where we met for the first time.
As well as Washington last summer at the BEF March.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I can remember quite clearly. You did something that... You sang a song, I believe.
Which one, sir?
Well, that's for you to remember. I've met thousands of people. You just met me twice, so you should remember the song. I'd like you to sing it now, then I'll know it's you.
Sing a song.
Did you ever see a dream?
Walking.
Well, I did.
Yes.
Did you ever hear a dream?
See, right, and then I did.
No, that's not it.
Which is quite funny.
It is. They do go on and
then do the
sing
right
another one, yeah.
There's also a covert cabal of businessmen who are trying to get Gil Dillenbeck as well to front their nefarious activities. Rami Malek and Anya Taylor-Joy are Libby and Tom, who was super keen to meet the general. The cast, which is star-studded and then some, also includes Chris Rock, Andrea Riseborough, Zoe Saldana, Mike Myers doing a variation on the role that Mike Myers played in Inglourious.
That's fantastic.
It said, we saw you in that film doing that thing when you were doing the Brit. Just do that again. So,
and Taylor Swift.
And Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift swiftly, and without wanting to spoil anything, there are a couple of dramatic turns in the film that are, you go, wow. I really didn't see that coming, and because it's all done in one shot, I really didn't see it coming either. So in the current climate, a film about a conspiratorial business cohort attempting to destabilize and overthrow a democratically elected government, a film the recurrent line of which is to make sure you don't follow the wrong god home, and which another key line is about history, the dream repeats itself because it forgets itself, set between two world wars in which the spectre of the First World War, which was the war to end all wars, turns out not to be true because history is repeated by those who forget it. In that context, you go, okay, well, I'm on board. I am so on board because this is a film that's absolutely dealing with stuff that, that I'm interested in right now, this moment. What's weird is that Amsterdam, and which is called Amsterdam because Amsterdam, as you mentioned last week, is the place where our central characters are together, and it's the good part of the story. In terms of history repeating itself, there are cycles of good and bad, war and peace. And Amsterdam is this it's the place where the good part happens. That description that I just gave you, I think, is a lot more coherent than the film itself, which is a kind of very zany, tragicomic caper which pinballs all over the place as it sort of careens between tragedy and comedy, between history and satire, between politics and ephemera. The performances are all very mannered, very bug-eyed, lots of wide-angle close-ups, emphasising the kind of, the sort of slightly off-kilter nature of the story, making it almost like a kind of horror film overcranked psychodrama. I mean, relating, I suppose, somewhat to what I was saying about Blonde. Christian Bale's performance is somewhere between Peter Falk as Columbo, which, as you said, right down to the glass eye.
I think actually you could hear it in that clip that we just played. It's
just
very hesitant and
one other thing. If the FBI planted the documents, why do you want them back?
That kind of thing.
That kind of thing. And also John Turturro's Barton Fink, because there's that weird thing with the hair and the general kind of manner which absolutely evoked Barton Fink for me. The cinematography, which is by Emmanuel Lubezki, who is an incredible cinematographer, is really impressively fluid. I mean, there are some scenes that are orchestrated in a way which is quite breathtaking. If you saw them in outer space, you'd go, wow, that. But because it's happening in this very well period design, I mean, the setting is, I think, extremely well evoked. The production design is beautiful. And the camera sort of moves through these long extended shots in a way that every now and then you catch yourself thinking, oh, well, that's really impressive. But the fact that you notice it perhaps suggests that what you're getting towards is a kind of triumph of style over substance. The problem for me is that there's so much going on that you're about halfway through the film before you really find out what the film's about. And when you do find out what the film's about, there's still a whole bunch of other stuff going on that you kind of want to push to the sides and go, hang on, that's the film that I want. Now, in that interview that you did with Christian Bale, he said an interesting thing. He said that David O. Russell had 12 scripts and could have made 12 different films.
Yeah, because he said it was a very leisurely way they put this together over a long period of time.
Didn't you think that he did end up making 12 different films and then just bolted them all together to make one?
Well, there's 2 or 3 films in the,
At least. There's at least 2 or 3 films going on at the same time. Now, okay, but because of that, there are going to be things in there that you will like and will admire and will enjoy. I found it overlong, overstuffed, overworked. And what I really wanted was a kind of stripped down version of it. But that's not what you go to a David O. Russell film for. It's a chaotic carnival, which at the centre of it has a story that I'm very interested in, and at the outsides has a story that I'm massively less interested in, and has got a lot of good performances and a lot of gurning and a lot of surprises and a lot of frustration. So there are 12 films in there. I like 3 of them.
I kind of agree with most of that, but there was so much to enjoy in it.
Yeah, there is.
I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more than you because there is certainly a point where you go, oh, it's going to be that movie. And that oddly topical stuff that you were talking about is definitely there, where there's a little bit of a message coming through. But there is, from Peter Falk's performance...
Peter Falk, Christian Bale. Well done.
Peter Falk is playing Christian Bale in this movie. I came out having had a really good time. I was just annoyed less by all the things that you were annoyed by.
Yeah, no, but it's fine. But I mean, I think no one's going to come out of it feeling underserved. But it's like sometimes you order a meringue and they bring you the whole bowl and you think, I just wanted the one meringue.
Yeah. Anyway, it'd be very interesting to see what people think of it because,
it will be,
as you say, and I think, and if you want to listen back to the Christian Bale interview, he does talk about how it was put together and how there are so many different scripts and all that.
And if I can say this, and I'm not just blowing smoke, whatever that may or may not mean, I think it was the best Christian Bale interview I've ever heard because he was smart and engaged and really on it. Which I think was great because because I don't think he's the easiest interview in the world, but he seemed to really have stuff to say.
He was easy for me, and I think it's back to our theory. He's a producer on this movie.
Yes, it's a passion project,
and he had lots to say, and in his real voice, which you hardly ever hear.
That was a great video, wasn't it?
I couldn't take my eyes off it.
No, neither could they.
Do they know? Do you think that they can keep up to date with all things Kermode and Mayo's Take by following us on our socials? Because they're all here below.
Well, they definitely know it now.
That's true.